Steppity went under a dock, and there they saw a rock.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of PigCake Plus News. I think it's episode 3. Boy, how time flies when you're having fun. Can't imagine what episode 1 was like. It's almost like it was yesterday. The joke was it was yesterday. I think I did 2 of these episodes in one day, or I uploaded 2 of them in one day, just because, why not? Now, I don't intend for this to be a daily thing, but it could be. It could be. I don't know where it's going to go yet. But of course, the reason that you heard that lovely song in the beginning, it's known as Lobster Rock by the B-52s. B-52s is a popular 60s, 70s band around that time period. They made Love Shack. That's one of their more popular songs. This is called Rock Lobster because lobsters are actually in the news today. And of course, we can't talk about lobsters if we're not talking about PETA, because PETA and lobsters go hand in hand. PETA is usually on the news for throwing blood on people that walk outside of Burlington Coat Factory if they're wearing some sort of fur coat or fur jacket, just to prove a point that you can't abuse animals. But apparently PETA asked Maine officials on Wednesday for permission to build a large grave to mark the site of a truck crash that resulted in thousands of lobsters spilling onto a highway. They want to have a grave for lobsters killed on the side of a highway. They want to memorialize the countless sensitive crustaceans who were killed during the August 22nd crash in Brunswick. Of course it happened in Brunswick, but it was some sort of crash that resulted in a bunch of lobsters just thrown all on the highway, and PETA wants to make some sort of grave to memorialize all these lost lives. Is this dumb? Are they retarded? What are they going to start doing? Are they going to start holding prayer vigils outside of Red Lobsters all around the country? Now, of course, PETA stands for People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They are a group that seems to advocate for animal rights, sometimes more so than human rights. Now, they have their normal supporters here and there, but they also have a lot of extremist members that want to abolish things like owning pets and animal testing for drugs and research. The president is a lady named Ingrid Newkirk, and she's on the more extremist side because she seems to show support for people that have firebombed animal testing labs. Really a fun character there. Now, I'm for correct treatment of animals, but goddamn, these people want to put them into government. They want to execute people that work in restaurants and shit. Could you imagine a law under what PETA wants? You can't have pets, no more zoos, no more animal testing. Anything that involves any sort of restraint on an animal, they don't want. So these pest control centers, no, we don't got them anymore, man. We're going to have just a bunch of animals running around and we're just going to have to deal with them. That's a ideal PETA world. Total animal liberation. Do they not realize that life isn't the Lion King? People aren't just going to live together. Sorry, people. Animals aren't just going to live together in harmony with people. We're not just going to shake the animal president's hand, invite them over for diplomacy. They're fucking animals, man. Now, they're kind of a kooky group. They make claims that there are certain studies that have shown that autistic kids improved when being put on a dairy-free diet. Dairy-free diet. Dairy is the greatest shit on the planet. Milk and cookies should be fucking mandatory for everyone to consume. Are you fucking kidding me? Dairy-free diet. I'll give you any sort of cookie you want, you know? Chocolate chip is king. You can't really top chocolate chink, but there are things that come close. Some people really frown on oatmeal raisin. I enjoy it. I enjoy it from time to time when it's done well. It's nice, soft, and gooey. Sugar cookies, I'll give you that. Birthday cake cookies, whatever. They're all fucking good. Milk and cookies should be fucking mandatory. Butter is a dairy product. Yogurt. Fucking cheese is dairy. You're telling me you want to abolish cheese? You're also telling me that avoiding cheese promotes mental stability and mental growth to the point where autistic kids have started to turn non-autistic or have improved their condition by not consuming dairy. Of course, they seem to cite all these studies that are really short-term. This tends to happen a lot nowadays when someone wants to push their agenda. Hey, look, it applies to these 10 people in South Dakota, so therefore, let's apply it to the same proportion of the population. And this is how many people it's affecting. So, you know, they have these studies where a couple autistic kids have improved after stopping eating dairy. And they say, look, no, it's working. Of course, they ignore the other things that make their argument seem like complete horsecock. This actually happened recently with this whole Bully Hunters campaign. They had a sample size of less than like 300 or 400 women that did a survey, and they applied those findings to the majority of the population by correlating that sample size to the rest of women everywhere. So at some point they were saying that millions upon millions of female gamers are being harassed on a daily basis. Do people not realize that it takes then less than 1 second to destroy their findings? Like, hey, which study found these results? Oh, it was a study that used like 100 people from like an online forum, and then we just multiplied it times the population. Oh, so you're fucking retarded. So this happens anytime somebody wants to push their agenda, and it seems like PETA was doing the same for this claim that some studies have shown that reducing dairy has improved autism. But we have to see. We have to see if they in fact build this monument to memorialize the countless sensitive crustaceans. That's my next t-shirt. Countless sensitive crustaceans. God. So the new Cosmo magazine model is Tess Holliday, who is a body positivity activist. Now, this is definitely some murky water territory because people get offended when you say that fat people aren't healthy. I think it was Gavin McGinnis that made the point about there not being any sort of obese 70-year-olds because they're all dead. And there's actually a lot of truth to that statement. I can't imagine and remember the last time I saw somebody that was above the age of 60 and obese. You know, you see a couple fat people here and there. There's a lot of Latin people that live around me. A lot of pastelitos are being consumed around me, and you know, typically I see them. They're pretty hefty, but nothing in the obese scale. I've never seen anybody above the age of 70 who's obese. And so I saw this Twitter moment promoting the story, which probably made me download a Twitter app that doesn't have the Twitter moments news column, because it's always like shit like they'll say action figure sparks conversation about race inequality, and then you click on it and it turns out that a couple people are arguing about Barbie's tan on a doll. It's ridiculous. So this one article in particular was filled with a bunch of body positivity activists gloating over this magazine cover. One quote by the leader in news, Huffington Post, mentioned that Holiday is everything the fashion industry needs. She doesn't conform to the metaphorically and literally narrow standard of beauty that is set by society. She's a role model for others who have felt excluded in this way, and she's downright honest. Now, I think a couple weeks, even maybe a couple months ago, there was an article that came out about a woman who was going to pose in a swimsuit in New York. She was one of these body positivity people and wanted to see the negative reactions she got from, you know, wearing a bikini in public. She was really doubling down on the fact that people were going to go, ew, put something on. But she actually got the exact opposite reaction she intended when people were cheering her on and hitting on her and yelling, yeah, you get him, girl. And she ended up posting an article about how catcalling is the problem with society, that she went in there fully expecting to, you know, get lambasted and get absolutely decimated for being overweight and wearing a bikini and modeling it. And I think it was Times Square. And she instead complained on how what she heard was even more damaging. All these people saying, man, you're really hot, you know, making her a sex object. You can't fucking win. You can't win with these people. Is it wrong to actually argue that they're unhealthy and doing this sort of thing is promoting an unhealthy lifestyle? Is that seriously an argument that I have to make? Now, I'm not being malicious. I'm not trying to be malicious. I'm not saying anything with malintent that being fat is the exact opposite of what is healthy. But anytime you criticize someone that decide to make their opinions public about matters like this, you become a troll, you become an asshole, you just don't understand. No, I'm trying to save lives here. You know, the idea is to promote healthy lifestyles, which in fact turns into a longer life. I'm not saying to stop eating burgers or fast food, but you need moderation. You could still eat what you want as long as you're active. Walk a couple miles, think about calories, even if it just means saying, no, thank you. I think that's enough. It honestly doesn't take a lot of work. It really doesn't. But you have certain people that will argue against that and say, no, you're just being oppressive against me. And they always say they're healthy too. That's the part that blows me away. Look at me, I can do yoga even though I'm clinically obese. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. And still avoids the fact that you've eaten way more calories than your body should have. God. So that was a very interesting article coming out of, I think, Cosmo magazine. They're the same magazine that comes out with monthly articles about top 10 sex tips that your boyfriend will go crazy about. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and stick your pinky inside of his urethra? Men love that shit. You know, they'll post something like that as if that's some sort of sex tip. Now, there's another story here about Harvard and Google that they're teaming up to use deep learning algorithms to predict earthquake aftershocks. Now, that's very interesting, but is no one worried about how good Google is getting at artificial intelligence and that sort of shit? The other day I was at a store and I see a notification on my phone and it's Google saying, hey, are you at CVS Pharmacy? Here's a couple coupons for coffee. I was getting coffee from CVS. Get out of my fucking head. You know that if you go to Google Maps, you could see everywhere you've been to by the hour and the day. Like, you know this, right? They used to hide this and put it so that it was a little bit harder to get to. But now it's a feature. They've made it into a feature. You could go to Google Maps on the app. Now it's history. So you just swipe left and you could click on history and you see everywhere you've been since signing into your Google account on that particular phone. How do people even have affairs anymore? Back in the day, you could just get away with saying, oh, I have a business trip or whatever. There's no way to track that. Now you're fucked. All they have to do is wait till you sleep, just hold the phone against your face to unlock it, and they have access to your dirty secrets. Jesus. You remember this whole Ashley Madison fiasco? There was a website, Ashley Madison, if you're not familiar with it, that you could pretty much meet up with people cheating on their significant other. Of course, they got hacked, and you had millions of people simultaneously shitting themselves when the story came out, and the hackers ended up posting addresses, credit cards, and phone numbers, and even names. Speaking of shitting yourself, what do you think would happen if everybody in the United States flushed their toilets at the same time? You should leave that in the comments. What do you think would happen? I think that question has been asked before, but I really am curious to see if we have any scientists listening here. Any shit doctors. Here's another story. There was a small air leak detected in the International Space Station. Astronauts at the International Space Station are working to report a small leak that was discovered at the orbiting laboratory on Wednesday night. This is August 29th, for those of you guys keeping track. Now, the leak caused a small drop in cabin pressure and didn't pose an immediate danger to the astronauts currently living aboard the station, said NASA officials. How do you not die of fear being confined to what is essentially being on an area no bigger than your couch, traveling at thousands of miles per hour in fucking space? I went on this ride in Disney called Mission Space, where they put you in little pods and they simulate what it's like being in outer space, and I almost passed out from how fucking enclosed this shit was. But these fucking astronauts hear that there's a leak in some sector of this massive space couch and they go to repair it in outer fucking space. You know, I heard that they can't smell properly up there, so when they come down they actually end up smelling like shit. I forgot where I heard that, but I think that's true. YouTube is back on the news, as they are on a almost daily basis. Copyright issues hit YouTube fight as reaction videos disappear from site. So apparently, if you want to make a video criticizing the awful and overhyped boxing match between KSI and Logan Paul, you're going to have to get a fat copyright strike on your channel. Now, I watched it. I didn't pay for it because it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the, I think it was $8 that it cost. It was fucking AIDS. There were people dancing while boxing. They had the whole amateur helmets on. The whole thing was shit. The final fight was all right if it wasn't for Logan and his gloating every minute until the last rounds, where he was sucking more wind than Tess Holiday in a photo shoot. It's a fat person joke. There were five points where Logan Paul could have ended the fight, but instead he chose to eat shit. I don't know if you guys watched the fight, but he was kind of getting him in the corner. This guy wasn't defending himself, KSI, whatever his name is. And Logan Paul could have ended the fight easily there, you know? But instead, he decided to pull back and kind of mock him. Really dumb. Is this what happens when uneducated people come across a lot of money? call me older, but I really don't understand the appeal of people like Logan Paul, KSI, Rice Cum, and all these channels specifically designed for children. Now, I'll admit, I know I'm a bigger man here, but Logan Paul has made me laugh on occasion. He's made me laugh with a couple things that he's done, and it's mostly because of his lack of self-awareness in social situations that he presents in his videos. That's honestly why, not really anything he's done, maybe on purpose, but he just seems to be oblivious to anything taking place around him. But these sort of things get popular in trends and waves, and I would love to peer into the future and see when most of these people are forgotten and still trying to cling on to their peak. Although I think last I heard he was making $10 million a month in merch, which is enough to make me not give a fuck, honestly, about longevity if I was in that position, as long as I don't go in the way of MC Hammer, who decided to spend all his rap money on hiring a crew and a massive mansion and just really wasting it on tons of cocaine. But if Logan Paul's intelligent, he would have some sort of investor, maybe investing in some sort of cryptocurrency, maybe in some stocks. Who knows? But that's it for the news, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Really lets me know if you guys want to see more of this sort of content. I'm willing to do it on a daily basis if that's something that I seem to get good responses on. See if I can make this work. So I'll leave you guys with a little bit of advice, little tidbits, a little nugget of truth here. If you come across a soda can in the middle of the street, try your best not to consume it. I know it's hard, but try your best. And you'll avoid a lot of catastrophes that way. I'm going to go figure out different ways to use the character counter on Microsoft Word to see if it could count how many lives I've saved.
See you again when I see you again. 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 When I see you again.